Hello, everybody. Sorry, Wrench. We already have 21 tracks. I can't believe the thing got filled up before I even opened it. So gonna have to be next week. All right, let me grab. Oh my God, there's so many songs. You guys have been busy. Oh Lord. I don't think it's warm enough in here for no coat. I had to put my coat back on because it's like minus 5 billion. All right. Let us see what you have been up to. My computer was also off when I got here, so I don't know if any settings are going to be wrong, but we're gonna see. Just make sure you picked up the updated version. I just downloaded everything right now, so I don't know what that means. I don't know what song is yours. But I just downloaded all of them right now, so yeah. Okay, let's have a listen. This one's called Azalea Music. See? I knew something would be wrong. Hold on. Oh, that's right. We're good now. I knew there would be one technical issue. Hopefully only one. I am completely unresponsible for the order. FL Studio, I still have no idea how it picks what order to do what. So I do apologize. If you're in a weird time zone or something, then I can always shift you up. But if you're just like, wah, I want to be sooner, then I'm probably not going to shift you up. All right. I like this. I think the piano feels a little stiff to me. I'm kind of distracted because there's always this line on the wave candy. It's kind of hard to see on the stream, but there's this line and I'm like, what is causing this? Why is that happening? Like, one of these settings must have something. Why is there a line? There's got to be a reason. But I don't see anything that changes that. All right, if it's 9, which one's yours? 808, man. Yours is Come Selecta. All right. There you go. I shifted you an arbitrary amount upwards. Anyway, okay. So this I don't really know if I have. Yeah, I know. Windows was fighting me. Well, FL Studio was fighting me, which is pretty typical. I don't really know how much good advice I'm going to have for this because it's kind of its own thing. But I think that Probably a sub bass, you know, or a Reese bass or some sort of bass. Because right now it might sound, it kind of sounds like there's bass, but I think it might just be the piano. Thanks, Nate. I'm now a mustache man, apparently. Yeah, I think even just like a simple sub bass, like a sine wave or something, would really make this part go a lot harder. It's kind of cool, though. I mean, I like where this track is going. I'm not really sure where it fits, you know, in terms of style. But it's cool. It sounds like a ballerina on Mars, fighting for her life in front of like an audience of aliens that will kill her if she doesn't do her curtsy correctly or something. I really don't think I have a whole lot of advice besides add a sub bass and keep writing it. I think that's pretty much that's going to be my feedback for this song. All right. Oh my God. This one's called Battlefield Sawyer Edit. I really like this so far. I think that this is my new favorite Sawyer track. I think that for my tastes, I think that this is the proper amount of kick transient and the proper amount of like Kong kick drum. This brings me back to like being a teenager in the early 2000s at the Cineplex and being on like the Dance Dance Revolution. I know I make that reference a lot, but that's just because of my age, I think. But this is my favorite Sawyer track so far. Hello, Sawyer. You know, I have a feeling that things are going to get more distorted and violent, though. But who knows? Let's find out. Dude, that was you know what? After everything is said and done, I welcomed the Sawyer kick drum. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I have any real feedback for this one either. I really like this track. And it almost like, I feel like I would have been disappointed if you didn't give me the screaming kick drum at the end. I feel like that was essential to making this song feel complete, at least in my mind. I don't know. I don't know what, I think it's just a good track. I think you did a great job. I think that it's accessible to people who aren't into like the crazy hardcore sound, but it's still, I think would probably get respect from people who are more into that style. Like, I feel like you've struck a good balance between accessibility and violence. I like the thump of this. I feel like this kick drum is slightly different than maybe past Sawyer kick drums because it actually has a discernible start. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's dope. Cool. All right. Victus Zaza. Is that a weed reference? Okay, here we go. Okay, so I like this one a lot. That start, I feel like I threw my neck out just trying to understand what was happening at the start of that song. But it was interesting, and I like it. I think that the vocals are too loud. They feel like they're on top of the mix as opposed to being in the mix. I would even maybe sidechain them slightly and push them down a bit so that they just feel like they're swimming in the mix and not hovering mysteriously above the water of the mix somehow, like it's like Jesus or something, you know? Like if the vocals are really pushing like as loud as they possibly could, and then there's like this cool lead thing that's happening underneath, but it sounds like it's at the bottom of the ocean and the vocal is Jesus on top of the water. Yeah, like I feel like the vocals are almost doing a disservice to the song at this point. I feel like there's a really cool song underneath there, but I'm constantly kind of pushing the vocal like out of the way, trying to hear this cool track underneath of it. And I think the value of the song is the song, and of course the vocals probably are a good thing to have, but maybe they don't need to be carpet bombed over the entire track. Maybe you can like use them a little bit more sparingly, or maybe have sections that are more dedicated to the vocal, and then you build it up and then you hit us with like the cool shit that's underneath the vocal. But right now there's just a lot of confliction happening. Yeah, I'll put yours up. Jeez. There we go. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now that we finally get past the vocals, like that part was sick. That I feel like the vocals are cool, but they should have their own spot. And then the rest of the song is cool and it should have its own spot. And that's not to say you can't drop in like the word Zaza or something in the music spot, or you can't put some of the music in with the vocals. But I think having a bit more intentional sections to let each of these elements shine is the move, because I mean the track is sick. It sounds like a samurai on Mars, fighting alongside the ballerina from the first song.
You'll never suck dick like him. And we still screaming out, gang, gang, gang. Look, we the guys in the chain, gang, gang. Finna go insane, let it bang, bang, bang. I'm off the shuffle, get out of my way. Get out my way, I'm coming through. Boom, go get your fans up.
Yeah, it kind of just sounds like you made a cool song and then found a cool vocal and then just was like, here you go, and just put the vocal on the song. And then it just the vocal goes, the song goes, they're both going, but it doesn't sound very strategically placed. And like this section, even this section right here in isolation, would be so much better if the vocal wasn't absolutely as loud as it possibly could be. Like, I'd probably even strip the vocal back and find some more meaningful lines and use them again, more intentional. I think my thoughts on this track, the instrumental itself is a bit congested and maybe could be brighter overall, but the biggest thing is the vocals are too loud and they're just not being used very strategically. Like that fucking melody is so good and makes me want to do a backflip and hurt myself. But I feel like it's almost an afterthought compared to how loud and frequently the vocals are used. The big gong at the end. Overall, I mean, this was still a lot of fun to listen to, but I think the execution is just a bit sloppy. It just feels like thrown together and not like you cherry picked all the best parts and used them in the most effective way of the vocal, I mean. So I don't know, maybe try tweaking that. Definitely turn the vocals down, maybe de-ess them a little bit, but it maybe just turning them down might be enough. You might not even need to de-ess them after they're not riding on the limiter the entire time. Okay, cool. This one's called The Fox on Stilts Untitled. Ooh, that's mysterious. Oh shit, I did. Okay, well, we're already into this one. Is it long? Nah, I'm already committed. We'll do yours next, Cheese. I know it's late, but whatever. It'll be like 7 minutes from now. Okay, I'm trying to find something because I don't remember what it's called, but I think you should have it. This is really good. I like this so far. I think the kick is a bit weird in this section. I feel like the kick should be flattened because it's just such a strong transient. But besides that, I'm really digging this so far. I'm just trying to find this little synth that I have. I can't remember the name of it. It's over here, and it is like the ultimate chip tune shit. Okay, this is, again, really good. I feel like the kick is just a little strange. Like, maybe the kick and the snare just, it's not bad. It could be a taste thing. And I just remembered what the synth was called. It's called an AY3. Use it, let me see, AY3. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no. AY3. Is this it? Oh, it's different? No, maybe. Products. AY3. Maybe this is what it looks. Yeah, no, this is it. AY3. You should definitely check this out. It uses, is it the SID chip or... I can't remember. It's been probably a decade since I used it. It's in my studio somewhere. I'm pretty sure I broke it, like the case is broken, but you would love this shit. And the fact that it's hardware and makes you kind of like, commit to certain things definitely helps as well. I think I actually have a folder that I made some recordings of. Actually, I think I have a song that I made with it that I'm just remembering now called AY3. AY3. It's not a song. Let's have a listen. Here we go. Anyway, I'm not gonna listen to my own song again, but I haven't heard that song in probably 10 years. That's a sick synth. You should look into it. Let's continue listening to your song. So I think overall, I think your instrumentation could use some brightness. I think there's a new snare now. No, it's the same. I think that there's a couple bright elements that you couldn't just boost your master. Like when I boosted the high end and the master on this, certain elements kind of got a little too bright. But I think a lot of your instrumentation, your guitar, your kind of chip tune synths and stuff, they could probably use a little bit more brightness. I think the problem that I'm having with the kick and the snare is maybe that it's so short and kind of just like a doop, but the side chaining is reacting as if it's like a lot bigger of a kick or a lot bigger of like an impact. So we get like, you know, this kind of, and it's not to say that this shape is just wrong. Is sometimes that shape is fine. I mean, like I'm sure if you looked at Benny Benassi's Satisfaction, it'd probably have something similar. But I feel like we're missing out on a lot of the information, because if we look at right here, and this is the kick, this is the snare. So like your song kind of goes almost to zero, and it takes almost 50% of the time to come up to be full volume. I would maybe try to, maybe the kick and the snare are fine, and maybe it's the side chain that's the issue. Maybe if your side chain was more, you know, got up to full volume sooner, followed the shape of the kick a little bit tighter, because I feel like you're probably doing some sort of manual side chaining, or maybe like LFO tool or kickstart or something that doesn't necessarily follow the kick drum. So maybe it's just a tweak to your side chain to make it a little quicker, and then some more brightness overall in the track would probably be my Windows sound, would probably be my main feedback on this. The composition and the song itself is sick. I really like it. It's kind of funny, like it's very similar melodically and harmonically to the track that the AY3 track that I pulled up. It's got kind of a similar vibe to it. Yours is much more flushed out. Mine was, I just got this new synth and I want to try making a song with it. And then I don't think I touched the synth after that, but I remember really enjoying using it. But yeah, I think maybe, I still think that the kick drum in this section, it sticks out a little too much. You can just kind of visually see it, but you can also hear it. the track isn't quite at its maximum, but the kick kind of is at its maximum. So there's a bit of a mismatch in the power of the kick versus the power of the rest of the song. So I would probably pull the kick back in that section, and then for the rest of the track, I'd probably just tweak your sidechain to have the track fill in. Now you're gonna lose some of that that pumping sound, so maybe it's not the move, but it's kind of difficult because if you want that pumping sound, sometimes you have to have a longer kick sound that has a bit more harmonics that fill out more time while we're waiting for each of those events to come up. Yeah, I play around with it. I mean, overall, it's kind of a taste thing too, because this is not the type of track that's like, we need this to be maximum volume. It has to fit into a DJ set. Like this track, it sounds good as is. I enjoyed listening to it, but I think I would just enjoy listening to it a little bit more if the sidechain was a little shorter, because I would just get to listen to more of the song. It would be less sidechained out of the way, right? So I would hear more of the song. Anyway, besides that, it's sick, dude. I really like that one. All right, now let's listen to Swiss Cheese's song called Imontes, I think. Dreamin' Choo Choo. Okay, Haruka Kiratani Alt Southern. Okay, holy shit. Is this the right song? I'm not skipping you again, right? Okay, like this sounds good. I'm enjoying this. I find that her vocals are a little hollow sounding, like there's a bit of mid-range here kind of missing in her vocal or something. I don't know, it's kind of sitting a little strange in the mix, and I feel like there's a frequency mismatch there. The other thing, maybe the bigger thing that I'm hearing is that although all of this kind of sounds nice, it sounds like you have not committed to one thing to make it your remix. It sounds it's too much, but I could check it. Okay, if you pulled something out in this frequency range, I believe that's the issue. You got to manually type in my Discord because I am old and I don't know how to make that work. So the other thing is I'm waiting for like the remix part of it. I don't know the original, so you know, I'm not saying this sounds like too much like the original or anything, but I'm kind of waiting for like a cut up vocal or like a cool synth lead or like something that brings its own identity. Because right now the identity of the song is nice chords, good vocal, right? But if it's a remix, I'm kind of expecting like like remix, you know, that sort of shit. Like not necessarily cutting her vocal up, but that's just the first thing that comes to mind. Or like some cool sound design or something. Right now it's all very nice, and it's I added one, but my mixing is shit. Where I feel like I could sum up my advice to you over the past probably 2 years at this point, in that everything you put in your songs are too polite. I think that's I think that kind of sums up most of my advice that I've given you over the years. It's just too polite. It's just nothing wants to get in the way. Nothing wants to stand out or offend anybody. Everything is just kind of like, woo, you know, oh, sorry, just gonna get by you there. You know, like it's very Canadian. And I guess some of that might be a sound. Maybe that's okay. But for my tastes anyway, and again, this is just my thoughts, it's just missing that one thing that is like, hey bitch, I'm here, you know, like what's up, this is me, this is the sound. Everything is just a bit too like, I'm just going to creep into the mix, it's going to be nice, everything is nice and smooth. And I'm not suggesting you put a big dubstep bass in here or anything like that, but I just think take a chance on some sound that you like, or try to listen to some tracks that you really like and identify how are they not being polite? What in this song is the unpolite thing that they did? And then try to hone in on that and digest it and see what you can come up with in your own voice, right? Because like technically this sounds nice. Everything sounds nice. It's nice harmonically. The mix sounds good. It certainly could be mastered louder. I fear I don't listen to any songs like that. What's like your favorite song? What is one of your favorite songs, I should say? Because I want to listen to a section of it and see if I can identify something that's not being super polite. Something that is assertive, maybe is another good word. I can put it in or you can just tell me the name and I'll look it up on Disc or on Spotify. Because I feel like I'm going to continue to give this advice to you, no matter what you send in, and that makes me kind of wonder if maybe I'm doing you a disservice. Maybe it's okay for everything to be polite. I don't know. I know for me, when I hear something that doesn't have an identifiable thing, it to me, it just doesn't hold my attention. Mango, good morning. Okay. Mango, good morning. Kazusa remix. Kazusa. There we go. Okay. I mean, this is very Swiss cheese already. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. So maybe it's a taste thing. Maybe, I mean, I don't mind this, but if you sent me this, I'd probably have the same advice. So maybe it's a taste thing. Maybe you should take my advice with a very large grain of salt. I mean, like, okay, there's a couple things. There's a buzzy bass, right? That comes in right off the start. It kind of sticks out a bit like a sore thumb. Man, it's pretty quiet, but like that, and then like that plucky thing is really interesting. That kind of like almost it sounds like a harmer patch or something. Boom, boom, boom. That thing is pretty cool. But I feel like I probably would have a similar piece of advice for this person, and so maybe it is partially a taste thing. Although I will say that, like, there, you rely on super saw synths a lot. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, like, you guys come and watch this stream as if I'm some sort of authority, but I'm just some fucking dude that has made music for a long time. It doesn't mean that I know everything or my opinions are correct. But I don't know. This one stumped me. I still have the same opinion, but I'm just questioning whether it's just a taste thing, and I'm just not into very slow progressive house that doesn't really have any sort of identifiable features to it. I do still think that track that you sent has the buzzy bass and it has that cool plucky sound, because to me a super saw is not really like a main. Like, it just doesn't have enough character to be like a main element. Whereas this plucky, it almost sounds organic. It almost sounds like it could have been like a marimba or something. I doubt it was, but it kind of it has more personality. It has more of a tangibleness to it, right? So I still think that this is this has that over your mix, that it has the buzzy bass and the marimba sound. There, based on your experience. Well, I don't know if more correct, but I feel like getting people's honest opinion and perspective on anything is always nice. And if that person has spent hundreds, well, not hundreds, definitely tens of thousands of hours making music, then potentially they've thought of things in certain ways, usually involving food for some reason, or outer space and stuff. Anyway, so I guess Cheese, I still have the same thought on this track. I still think it needs something that's not a super saw. I think maybe what it is just super saw is okay for a nice bed of chords and to play the synth chords and the plucks and stuff, but I just don't think a super saw is interesting enough, at least for me. So I don't know, maybe keep it as is, but try putting something in there that sticks out a little bit. I still think that my polite note holds true, but maybe I need to temper my expectations of what this style of music should be. Okay, cool. I think we all learned something here. Let's move on. Thank you for sending. Yeah, I just think that, like, a kick drum, a clap, hi-hats and or top drums, a bass, and a super saw is like the foundation of something. But you can't just like put your bed in the foundation of a house. You've got to build a house on top of the foundation. So I think that's where, if we went back to that other example, the buzzy bass and that cool marimba plucky sound, then he also still has the foundation of the bass and the drums and all the other stuff that have to be there for it to be house music. But that's kind of, to me, that's what makes that song is that marimba sound. Like I can hum that to you, and because you know the song, you would know what song I'm talking about. The thing, if I was like, hey, that track with the marimba that goes dum 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 dum, you'd probably know that it was that song. So that is the identifiable feature. Okay, cool. Let's check this one out. Tento 2, no name yet. That's an interesting way of putting untitled. Okay. Okay, Nutter Tools. We're all filled for today. I usually only do 20 songs, but by the time I hopped on stream, there's 21 songs. So next week, next Friday, there'll be a new thread for you to submit your track. Because I'm assuming you probably put it in the production feedback, and that's just okay. That's just throughout the week. People can share songs with each other and stuff like that. But yeah, I this will already be like a 3-hour stream, so I gotta cut it off at some point. All right, let's listen to this one again. So like, there's like this really high frequency sound on the snare drum. But the bigger problem here, I think, is that when you get to your drop section, there wasn't a big jump up in energy. So if we go like this, what's up, Tony Games with a Y? That's interesting. So this was, I mean, first of all, visually, I can't really see where the buildup ends and the drop starts. So that's a good indication that there's an issue. But also, if we look at like energy level, why am I drawing in blue? If we look at energy level, this is kind of what happens. So there wasn't really a big payoff, and there wasn't really a lot of building of anticipation as we're getting close to that moment. There's, I think you got to do two things. You got to strip out some of the energy from the buildup and make it more of a buildup and more of an introduction of the sound. Thank you for posting your exact address. That's excellent information for all of us to use. And then when you a lot of the time you kind of have a little bit of a dropout before the drop to really accentuate that energy shift up into the drop. It's not necessary. Why did I sound like Christopher Walken when I said that? But I think it would help because, again, if we listen to yours, there wasn't any payoff, right? So a lot of the time, there's typical things. You could high pass it, band pass it, pull out some of some of the elements and then bring them in at the drop. There's many ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, you got to build our anticipation. You got to get us excited for something, and then you got to deliver on that promise. And this kind of doesn't really get me very excited. There's cool sounds in here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shit all over the idea, but there's kind of too many cool sounds in the buildup. And then I think the only thing that really changes is the bass drops down an octave for the drop. And that's not really enough for a drop. Even this, okay, so right here, you kind of did something. Let me try to figure out what tempo this is. So where's the actual... I also think that you're trying to be too loud. I think that you're louder than you're able to be at this point in your production journey. I think it's like over compressed. All right. 100 and what is it? 140. 100 and 128. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here. And I'm gonna just do this. So check this out. This is going to be a much better transition. It's gonna sound like a bigger shift in energy. And I'm gonna pull this section from your other section. Here we go. See, like, I'm not saying that's a better drop section, but the contrast between the buildup, and I mean, you could take it further and oopsies, you could do this. Let's send it to a track. And you could, you know, go like this, make like a bandpass kind of filter. And then automate the frequency, go, and turn the EQ on and off. So what we can do now is okay, so right here's the drop. So as we're getting closer to the drop, you could do something like this. I mean, that's not great, but it's I think better. I think it creates enough of a contrast. What is happening in what is going on, Rayhem? All right, let's keep going. Oh, I gotta turn off the EQ. Do I have to figure out how to fucking kick people off of my stream? It's been a long time. Do you have mod permissions, Rayhem? I don't remember if you do. Anyway, let me know. Okay, keep going. Yeah, I think, I mean, overall, you're, it's funny. It's annoying is what it is. So are you good, Rayhem, or do I need to do this? I already have it open. I can figure it out. Dun, 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 dun. There's a good melody in here. I mean, it's kind of getting... Oh, okay, thanks. It's kind of getting stuck in my head, but I think it's kind of buried underneath some production issues. I think that's the problem here. There's some cool stuff. There's some catchy hooks and things happening, but it's just buried under mix issues. To me, I feel like there's a lot of bad things happening in the master bus. I think what I would do to fix this mix is I would turn off the limiter and any other stuff you have going on in the master, and I would get the mix sounding as good as you can without any master effects on it. Because what I'm hearing is a lot of work being done by compressors and or limiters. And I think that just getting rid of all your master effects and getting the mix sounding a bit better without the master. I think that you're leaning on the master to get it really loud, but I would try to get it really good first and then try to make it loud. To me, chasing this ultimate level of loudness is kind of a fool's errand, because it stops you from being successfully loud, because I almost can guarantee you that if you open up your master compressor or any of the effects that are in your master bus on this, there's going to just be the gain reduction is just constantly going to be pumping around, because I can kind of hear it. So I would turn off your master bus. I would try to not be as loud as possible. Just try to make it sound good and then work on making it sound louder, not the other way around. Because I find, at least the way I used to do it when I was starting out, is I would go for like absolute loudness because I want that power and I want to be able to A/B it against other tracks and not have my hopes crushed. But then I would make terrible decisions because I'm mixing into a very abused compressor, and I'm like making mixing decisions that aren't linearly affecting what's coming out of the speaker. I could turn something up, but if it was already up as loud as it's going to go before it hits that master limiter, then turning it up isn't going to do anything except make it sound worse, right? So that's my advice. And then the other thing is, I had to ban somebody like a year ago, or probably not quite a year ago. I can't remember what it was. They were like making, they were being very sexual and weird. And then I feel like they came back on like different, I feel like I had to like fight them off like 3 separate accounts. Anyway, Tentotu, I'm sorry, I was a little distracted because buddy in here dropping the N-bomb. We had to figure that out. But my advice is the same. Make the drop more contrasty, turn off your master bus effects, and try to get it to sound as good as you can without that, and then slowly introduce the master effects to bring the volume up. Okay, Sparky. Take me there.
Take me there, if only to see that there's nothing left for you and me. Show me all you ever need. You can take this love to set me free. If I could find beyond the lines, would you stay for me when I've lost my mind?
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Pro Low West. Yeah, so what happens is every Friday I do a stream, and the day of, like the morning of when I get up on Friday, I'll make a new thread for that day, and then I take 20 spots. People submit their tracks, and then we listen to it at 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, and we all give our thoughts. And that's it. That's how it works. Okay.
When I've lost my mind. Would you save my life? When I've lost my mind.
So a couple things. I think that the you've got like a snare and a clap, and then every other time, so the 1 clap, 3 clap. The clap on the 2 is less shifted, or maybe not there. I can't quite tell. And then on the 4, it's very pre-shifted. So we get like a snap and then a like a pre-shifted clap into the snare. And I don't mind the alternating clap snare thing, but I feel like it's just a little too intense in this situation. It kind of caught me off guard, because when I heard the first clap snare thing, I was like, okay. And then I heard the second clap snare thing, and I was like, wow, that's a lot louder. And it's because the clap is hitting before the kick drum hits. So before you're probably smoking your master limiter, that clap sound can cut through the mix a lot louder. But when it's lined up with the kick is kind of dictating how loud it is, if that makes sense. Like your kick hits, brings the master compressor down, and then the clap kind of disappears. But the second time, it's very apparent. So maybe just like you've got a lot of difference between the 2 and the 4, and maybe just bring the 2 and the 4 a little closer without making them the same. Because I do like the alternating, clap thing. I think it's cool that way. Okay, let's keep going.
Safe and sound inside your arms. If I lose my way into the dark, show me all you ever need, and you can take this love to set me free.
I also think that like your kick drum is probably just generally too loud, because you've got a lot of kind of real estate in between the kick drums that if you just brought your kick drum down by like 2 or 3 decibels and then brought your limiter down to the same level, your kick drum's going to still be that loud, but everything else is now going to be up a lot more.
If I could fall beyond the lines, would you stay for me when I lost my mind?
I do like that you're incorporating more of like these like breaks in your tracks. It's cool. But I do find that I'm kind of expecting the track to step it up a notch higher than it does here, especially with this dramatic pause.
Would you stay for me when I lost my mind?
But it kind of goes back to the same. I'm not sure that it really stepped it up at all, energy wise. Like if we just. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be drastically different, but I feel like right now it's not different at all. And with that dramatic pause, you're kind of like, something's about to happen. And then nothing really happens except we just run it back to what was happening before the little dropout thing happened. So I feel like that's a bit of a letdown. It's still groovy. It's still good. It sounds great, but you've kind of lied to us. You were a bit dishonest when you dropped the music out.
Stay for me.
Especially with that big sub sweep, the boom. I'm expecting like a big hands up, like, oh my God moment, but it just kind of goes back into the same groove. There's many ways to skin this cat, and I'm not sure which way would be the best, but I do know that when that happened, I was excited, and then I was a little let down because I'm like, oh, it's the same groove that we've been grooving to this entire groove. But I do like that I like that you're chopping up I like these moments. You're creating good moments in your tracks, and I like those. You need to follow them with something that justifies their existence, which is some sort of step up in energy. Whether that's like a new synth sound or a drastic change maybe it's a cut up vocal or a big swoopy. I think effects would probably help regardless of what you do. I think that would be good icing on any cake. But yeah, I think you just need to justify those existences and the existence of those moments, I mean. And also, I do think that your kick drum could come down and everything could come up. Because if you just like bring your kick drum so that it's a bit more in line with the loud. Of course, it's going to be a little bit louder than the other stuff. That's fine. But right now, I think it's just a bit too much louder than the other stuff. And it's limiting how loud you can get the track. I mean, I can get a few decibels out of it just by slamming the limiter a bit harder. And it doesn't even really sound that bad. But imagine if you could get 3 decibels more without any downside. And I think the way to do that is to bring the kick drum down just a bit. And whatever amount that you bring that kick drum down, you bring your master limiter down by that amount as much or as well, at least. And you might be able to push it a bit harder as well. Okay, cool. That's what I think. Whoopsies. Okay, let's check out the next one. Shock Lab. 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty warm. Okay, this one is Shock Lab Fault Loop. How's mix and master? I don't know. Let's find out. Interesting. No, sorry. That is the price of entry. You have to submit on Discord. And also, we're full for today, but I do it every Friday. There's just no good way of people sending me songs from every which direction, and I have to try and download or whatever. They just go in my Discord. I grab them. I play them. That's the price. Okay. The sound design in this is cool, but it's almost the entire thing. Like, this entire song is almost just that one synth. I wasn't even sure if there was a kick until I realized that the kick was here. Shut up, Wrench. Yeah, I think that, like, the sound design is cool. I like the phasery kind of, it sounds like something made in Harmor, but I know Dropbox. I know that my hard drive is full because of all the songs that I've downloaded over the past few years of doing this. But you can't make a whole song out of one synth patch. And that's kind of what this is doing. I mean, I know that there's other stuff there, but on a scale of 1 to 10, the drums are about a 4 in terms of how loud they are, maybe 5. And I would have to use some sort of scientific notation with an exponential, like, it's very loud. The synth is very loud. It's too loud. I wonder if this is a sidechain thing. I wonder... Oh, shit. Sorry. My bad. I'm struggling to put my finger on it. Because I don't necessarily think that just turning that synth down, although maybe that would help, but I don't know if that's actually gonna, like, solve the problem or not. I really do like the sound of, like, I like the sound design, but I think it might be side chaining. I think that maybe the side chaining isn't allowing the drums to punch through that sound enough. I think it's side chaining. I think side chaining is probably the biggest problem with this. I would still probably turn it down, but I think side chaining and maybe the drum choice is not quite there, because like I have to kind of concentrate and try to hear the kick drum most of the time. When the kick drum hits when there's nothing else happening, sure, I can hear it, but when the kick drum hits and that synth is playing, I don't really hear the kick drum. Like, okay, for example, right around here. It just feels very flat. Like I feel like everything is just kind of mixed into that crazy loud synth. Another thing you could maybe try is having some sort of low pass filter modulation on that synth. So maybe sometimes it does a little pluck chunk thing, blump, blump, or something, because it's just very full spectrum like that. It's hard to fit anything else in the mix when that synth is just, I mean, like the spectrum almost looks like you're playing white noise. It's got everything in it. So, I don't know, a few things to try maybe. I think a deeper side chain, I think bringing that synth down in volume, and I think maybe modulating the harmonics in it a little bit more instead of just letting it go full spectrum like the entire time. And I'm not talking about like every once in a while you do like a low pass on the whole thing as it's like getting close to like a transition point or something. I'm talking more about like womp 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 womp, like the ADSR envelope style low pass filter modulation on the synth itself. Might be cool. Okay, this one's called Sample This, the Aura Lately I've Been Thinking 7. This is really cool. Musically, this is dope. I mean, production is cool too. I think that the biggest problem I'm having is that you have the kick and the bass are like really loud, and then the musical stuff, the sampled stuff, the strings and all the disco things are cool, but they seem, I mean, you can see the discrepancy in the volume. And that, again, not to say that the bass has to be the same, but like, look at this and then look at this. Now this is contributing to your mid-range, right? And that's why I was trying to boost up in here. I was going in and I was trying to push up, you know, some of the mid-range and pull out some of the sub-frequency, because I feel like what you have here is a cool kind of housey groove with a very strong sub bass and kick drum. And then you have the music of the song, which is really what most people would probably consider the song, is just so underrepresented in terms of how loud it is. So I would probably try to get the disco stuff, all the sampled music stuff, I try to get it up higher in the mix. Now, I see Raham and Kadia both are saying that switching up the arrangement. I think the reason why they say that, I feel the same way, is because I never quite know what's about to happen. Like, it kind of does a bunch of stuff. It's like, here's an idea, here's another idea, here's a cool idea, here's an even cooler idea, and now here's this idea. And I don't feel like it's carrying me through a bit of an ebb and a flow. It kind of just happened. The elements just kind of happen, right? One after, in chronological order, things are happening. But there's nothing in one, I shouldn't say nothing, I shouldn't speak in absolutes. There's not enough stuff in one section to lead me into the next section, to make me feel like a thing is about to happen. For example, there was no effect, there was no uplifter swoop effect thing. There's nothing telling me. There's no impact here, like a or a cymbal crash or anything to say, hey, this is the start of a breakdown. There's no like snare buildup. There is that. There are moments of things like that. That's telling me something's about to happen. But the rest of the time, I'm just like, if I didn't have the waveform in front of me, I wouldn't know that like a big groovy section was going to happen. There's not enough anticipation happening. I'm not getting excited for what's about to happen because I have it's all cool stuff, but imagine that with like, you know, like a 909 snare, like housey build up or some sort of reverse thing happening, something to tease me, to tell me that shit's about to go down, right? And then I could make that same argument over any of these sections. The lack of effects is definitely, I'm not saying that effects would save this, because I still think the arrangement's a little wonky in terms of like, for example, like this was kind of a breakdown and then this was kind of a build up, but then you built up into kind of another breakdown. And then this is kind of a build up. You see my point? Again, and like Raham just said, you don't have to stick to it rigidly, but what might be a good exercise is to take a track that's kind of like new disco or whatever this style of music is, and just take your track, cut it up, and arrange it, just straight up copy exactly their format. And see what it feels like, and see what that tells you and what that teaches you. You don't even have to do it in the project. You could take this wave file, cut it into its individual sections, and just kind of like paste it out over like almost trace over some other arrangement. And this isn't necessarily to come up with your final arrangement. What it's supposed to do is teach you something and maybe give you insight and be like, oh man, if I just got rid of this section and added a snare roll, the momentum is going to continue to build. Because right now the momentum kind of builds, drops off, builds, drops off, builds, drops off. We think it's going to build, but then it drops off. Like, it's just unpredictable in a sense. All the sections on their own sound dope, but I just think that the way that they lead into each other isn't necessarily the most strategic use of my anticipation when I listen to it. That's what I think. Okay, let me turn off all that crap I just put on the master. What happened to my other band? Oh, there we go. It's really good though. Like, each section is cool on its own. I think it's more it's more the arrangement of each individual section, right? And then effects, and then I do think that you probably could bring your sub bass stuff, like your kick and your sub bass, down, and then bring the disco stuff up. All right, let's check out this Selecta remix.
This is Pan versus me.
Okay, so I'm not usually into producer tags, but I think that I would give this one a pass. That was a cool one. Is it being warped? No. It sounds right on my end, and my kilobits per second look correct. Okay, this is dope so far.
I seek the finest and the bravest marksman, man. Join me in my golden government. Come, Celine!
interesting flam on the kick drum. I feel like this drop is starting to drag on a little bit. I feel like this section maybe should be in the middle as a breakdown. This part is way... I think this part's too cool to just be at the end. It's sick. Okay, so most of this is pretty bang on. I don't know that I have a whole lot of thoughts, but I will say that I think that this drop was my favorite, and I think it's maybe because it was the most it was the almost the simplest. And I think that when we got here, it gets a little too chaotic for me to follow along with, I think. And you can be chaotic, but I think there's too much different chaoses layered on top of each other. Like, you're kind of, there's stuff overlapping that are both so complex on their own that when you complex them together, the complexity is way too complex. For me, I think that you probably could just go and say you had all your different, complex things. You could maybe just go and say like, okay, this bar is for that complex thing. This bar is, I guess fuck that. You know what I mean? Like maybe you go and you're just a bit more selective with exactly when each thing is hitting, because that to me is kind of the only thing that kicked me out of this, specifically this last drop. The length of it might be fine. The length might be fine, but I feel like you need to give us some sort of indication that we're moving towards another section, like halfway through or something. Cause I just kind of felt like, okay, these are all sick sounds, but I feel like we're just copy pasting at this point. I know that there's some differences, but for the most part, that last drop just kind of felt like it was dragging on to me, but it also felt too complex. This second drop, there's kind of like, there's like that dirty, greasy bass, and then there's like the ba-dunk-a-dunk-gunk thing. And those two things are sick, and they're unencumbered by a whole lot of, there is some other stuff being layered in certain moments, but I think that that's why I like that one the best, because I'm like, oh, sick. I can like, I can figure this out. I don't, it's almost like condescending in a way. I don't know. I don't think that's a good analogy. But I do think that it's there's too much complexity on top of each other, and it just becomes a bit messy. Let me listen to the first one again. Okay, so it's bow, 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 bow. And then everything is going with bow, 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 bow. Which is kind of like a hard style kick pattern when you speed it up. Anyway. I don't, like the first two drops I can reproduce with my mouth, at least I can get the pattern with my mouth. This last drop is just kind of like I'm holding my mouth open and screaming. So I think that you probably don't have to make too many big changes here, but if you could carve out a more recognizable bomb, beam, 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 bomb, beam, 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 beam. Yeah, I can kind of hear some stuff under there, but the other two drops, I only had to listen to like one bar and I understood the pattern. This last drop was just kind of like, it just was just chaos, with maybe some patterns emerging. If I listened and I had a pen and paper and I kind of did some calculus or something, I could probably figure it out. But I don't think that you should require your, I don't think you should require the listener to have, you know, like a level 2 calculus education to decode the pattern. So I would just try to make the pattern more obvious, and then the complexity can still be there as ear candy, as long as it's supporting the pattern and not just smearing the pattern in a way that makes it less understandable. But overall, I mean, the track is dope. I do really think that the sound design in this last part, when you morph that, I really like that. Where it's unstable, but then it's almost like a top when you're spinning it, and it's like going in a unstable manner, astably. And then it finally snaps into its like a stable thing, and it's now spinning as a top. That's what that reminds me of. So there's lots of really cool stuff happening, but I do think that it's just the level of complexity in that last drop is just a bit over the top, and it gets in the way of me going in my head, bram, 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 bram. You know, like it kind of gets in the way of that. So, okay, let's move on. Rage Stone. I'm gonna have to pee soon. Holy. Rage Stone, Caladrius, Avi maybe, or Avi, or Owie, Demetros. Every single one of these names is difficult for me to say. Titans featuring, okay.
Earth is cracking, sky is falling. Ancient giants' voices calling. Iron skin, heart of fire, built to burn. They're calling back.
Okay, right off the bat, I probably have some rhythmic thing going. It doesn't need to be a hi-hat or a kick drum or anything major, but just something, because when I'm listening to her sing, I'm not quite sure what the tempo of the song is, and I'm not quite sure what, like, it's hard for me to follow the rhythm of her singing, because it's a little odd, not necessarily in a bad way, but without some form of rhythmic anchor, I find it a bit hard to follow the rhythm of the singing. So even if it's like a really like low pass pluck or dum 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 or something to establish the tempo, I think that would go a long ways to make her singing fit better. Okay, she's really I feel like she was really close to the mic when she sang this, because I'm hearing a lot of like very resonant down. So I would definitely pull some of that out. And probably compress her voice a little bit more as well. Because that's going to help get it away from like, it kind of, her vocal in this section doesn't sound larger than life. It kind of just sounds like a woman singing into a microphone to me, right? So the proximity effect, like Raham says, that's when you're really close to a mic. It emphasizes the fundamental frequency of your voice and the lower frequencies. That's happening. And also the dynamic range, she's kind of you can really hear like the loud and quiet parts of when she's singing the different words. And those two things combined, that gives you very like just person singing into a microphone. Doesn't sound like she's like floating above the earth with a galactic megaphone or whatever.
Coming for you. Pray for.
This drop's pretty sick though.
Pray for. No more mercy, no more life. Little monsters, endless night. Deeper breath, let the sound. Within station, to the ground. Higher than the clouds. Louder than the thunder. Everything you paid. Everything.
Yeah.
Louder than the thunder. Everything.
Like I've added 5.5 decibels of high frequency to the removing vowels. Yeah, I've added a lot of high frequency to her voice, and I think it sounds a lot better.
Nurse, no more life. Little monsters, endless night. Deeper breath, let the sound. Within station.
Now, of course, her S's are now too sharp. You'd have to DS. I think she's got a good voice. I think that she might need to retrack these vocals to get the mic sounding a bit better.
Everything you pay.
And I also do think that there might be some auto-tune.
Everything you pay.
That sounds like auto-tune to me, struggling.
Thing you.
When she says thing, you can hear it kind of not, it's not sure which note to hit, so it's fluctuating between them.
Thing you pay. Everything.
She does have a good voice. I like her voice though. But I do agree with Kadia, like right here, she drifts a little flat. Yeah, I was kind of wondering if it's maybe the auto-tune, maybe there's like a note that is not selected in the auto-tune that should be selected or something. But I don't know, because it doesn't sound like it's hitting a full semitone flat. It just sounded like it was, you know, like maybe like 25 cents flat or something. Landed on the note with 75 cents change. Yeah, I think that like the drop sections are really good and interesting and loud and aggressive, and the production sounds good, but it's the stuff in between the drops. It needs work. Arrangement wise, I'm a little confused too. This almost sounds like it's supposed to be a drop, but I don't think it is. To me, this sounds like a breakdown section or something. It's good. I like the way it sounds, but to me, I see three. Oh no, there's 4 artists. There's 4 artists, and I see. I mean, this is one drop, but there's 2 differences. Like there's 2 different sections. So I feel like this is one artist, this is another artist, this is another artist, and this is the 4th artist. I like this drop, but to me it does. Oh my God, Dropbox, I know my hard drive is full. Can you stop telling me? I'm just gonna close Dropbox. If I can remember how. How do I close? Nope, that's not what I wanted. Quit. There we go. Yeah, to me, this is more of a breakdown in the middle of these 2. Sorry. I would probably structure it more like this, where you have this big aggressive drop, and then maybe there's a breakdown, and maybe this is kind of like a like a bit of like a bridge section kind of thing, building up to this last set of drops. That to me makes a bit more sense structure wise, because that just to me, like, you had these like 2 really aggressive drops, and then this is more like trip hop, smooth, groovy section. I just don't. I don't think that it fits as like as a last drop, as a 4th. It's kind of a 3rd drop, but anyway, I think the bigger problems are the recording of her vocal. You might be able to get it sounding good with some creative processing, but I think a better idea would be to get her to perform it again and make sure that she's in, you know, a decently treated room and she's a proper distance away from a microphone. And then process it from there. Okay, that's what I think. Okay, this one's PGX Noah Other Side featuring Erose.
Lost track of counting the days, looking for peace of mind. All of the time we spent running to places I've been before. I'm frozen. Lost out in the open, and it's been too long. Searching for closure, it's the price we pay. Tell me, does it take a sign? You keep pushing me away to the other side. Tell me, can you read my mind? You keep pushing me away to the other side.
Honestly, that's pretty dope. And I really like seeing people collaborating with vocalists and not just using splice vocals. I'm assuming, considering there's a feature on this. I would say, at first I was going to say the vocals could use quite a bit of brightness, but then when I just put like a bunch of brightness on the whole track, to me it sounded better. So maybe the whole track just needs some brightness. Maybe there might be some elements that become too bright if you do that, and maybe you could just do this and then adjust those too bright things down. The lead sound is, there's a Camel Fat song that has a very similar lead sound. I don't remember which one it is. Camel Fat. It's I think it's this one. No, it's not that one. I don't remember which one it was. I think I have it in my liked playlist, or my liked songs or whatever. How do I search within here? Oh, here we go. Oh, well, it's not.
She can't tell enough of the arguments. She sips a Coca-Cola.
Maybe it is cola.
She can't tell.
Oh, it's a different one. Maybe it's not a Camel Fat song. Well, I mean, you have a very similar style to Camel Fat. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, my only real thought on this, other than when I heard her say, I don't know if you saw me smile, but when she said doctor, doctor, I was waiting for her to say, give me the news. Honestly, dude, I think if you just brighten the track up, it's done. It sounds dope. It sounds good. It's just a little dull in the top end. Mostly, I noticed it in her voice. But again, like I said, when I added high frequency to the whole song, everything just sounded better to me. There is one, she's got a bit of a whistly S on her. That sounds derogatory. Every once in a while, she'll say a word with an S at the end, and it has a very sharp frequency, resonant frequency. So I'd probably go and I'd listen and see if you hear it too, and then you might just automate her S's exactly 5K. I mean, you could DS or you could do something more creative, because it's not every single one of her S's that has this problem. It's only some of them. She gets a little whistle going, and on those S's, you could just find that exact frequency and do a very steep notch, and then just in that moment, pull that notch down and then bring it back up for the rest of the time. Like you could just surgically remove that whistle from, because again, it's not every S, it's just some of the S's I noticed. Like none of those ones really bothered me a whole lot. Dynamic EQ, you could do that, but I feel like it would probably get it wrong. I think it would probably be too reactive to other stuff. So if it's an occasional thing, the only reason you would use a dynamic EQ is so that you don't have to manually adjust everything for every single event that happens throughout the song. If it's only now and then that there's a couple trouble areas, it's much better to just do that manually. Find out that frequency and automate that frequency out in that one moment. And then the other moment throughout the song, wherever it happens, you just boop, you just do it with an automation clip, and then you're done, right? All right, cool. Good job. This one's Nate Floof, Everything You Want, Whip Mastered. Whip Mastered.
Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want. Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want. Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want. Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want.
I'd probably have like some effect thing hit here. It doesn't have to be like a huge explosion or anything, but maybe just a again. I mean, like the lack of effects in this build section make it feel really long. Like I'm kind of like, all right, let's get through it. But I think if you had some more effect things happening, zips and zaps and uplifters and downlifters and stuff, it might make it feel like we're moving faster towards the end goal here, which is, I'm assuming, a drop.
Bring it back.
Okay, I think the problem I'm having with this drop is that it sounds like you've tried to add too many things. It sounds like you made the drop and you're like, this isn't good enough. So you added another thing and then you thought, this still not really hitting hard enough. I should add something else. And then you added that thing and you're like, I might as well add one more thing. So now we just kind of have a bunch of things and it's almost not, you haven't committed to a single idea for the drop. We just kind of have like the tropes of this style of music in there, like as a checkbox item. Yes, I have the, wait. There's just too much stuff happening. And yeah, well, I wouldn't say 3 decibels. I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, 3.5. Yeah, there's like probably like 4 main elements happening right now, and they're not necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? Agreeing with each other. They're not all fighting the same fight. They're just kind of like doing their own thing. So I hear the main rhythm I hear is dun 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 dun. So I would try to maybe take out anything that doesn't either do that exact rhythm or complement it in some way. Because of course, you can have the offbeat whoop, whoop, whoop on the upbeats and stuff like that. That doesn't have to necessarily, everything doesn't have to land on the dun 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 dun. But to me, that's the main sound, and you have a lot of just kind of elements that are just lingering and loitering in the mix that aren't really enforcing that. And then that second, master turn down or something. I mean, who cares? Whatever. We have 3.5 decibels of headroom. Oh no! We can still get some meaningful insight here. Yeah, I think the first section of the drop should be stripped back, and you should be more confident in the sounds that you're using. To me, this is not the most confident sounding drop. It's kind of, it sounds a little insecure because there's a lot of layers and none of them are really taking the brunt of it. Like none of them are being the main character. There's just a bunch of supporting roles. Anyway, let's keep going. I really like the chord progression. It's familiar, but there's something different about it. I like the snare here, but I feel like it should be a layer and not the main snare. I think that you should still have a bit of because that snare kind of sounds like the early reflections of a reverb of a snare, but I'm not hearing the snare that's causing the early reflections, if that makes sense. So I think that you should still have a bit of a boom, like like a snappy snare with that. I really like that layer, but I don't think it accomplishes enough as a snare.
Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want. Watch me walk away. I'm taking everything you want.
Yeah, I think this song is currently in the stage. Like I know the exact stage that this song is in. I can think of like some of my songs that I've released, and I remember when they're in this stage. And it's basically you're roughing it out. Right now, this sounds like a rough estimate of what this song is going to become, which is fine. But you have to kind of chisel away. It's almost like you have this big rock, and it's just this big boulder, and eventually it's going to become a beautiful statue of something. And right now you've cut the rock down into the general shape of a human being, but you haven't gone in and discovered, oh, his arm should look like this, or oh, her legs should look like that. Like you haven't discovered you're still figuring it out. And I think that's why a lot of the drop elements just kind of sound like they're circling an idea, but there's no real idea there yet. Like they're just kind of circling an idea, but they're all kind of doing slightly different things. So the idea hasn't really been like focused in on yet. So I think that's what you got to do. You got to go in and figure out wherever the drop is. You got to figure out what the sentence is that's happening in this drop. What is the phrasing? And then you have to make sure that everything that's happening is there to support that phrase in one way or another. But yeah, overall it's cool, man. I think there's good stuff in here. I like the chord progressions. I like the non-drop sections the best, to be honest. And it's not necessarily because the drop sections are garbage, but I think the non-drop sections sound really good. And then the drop sections you just need to focus in on a specific phrase or a specific idea, and then make sure that all the elements are there for a reason and not just kind of doing their own thing. All right. Multifox, move on. Wow, he moved on from, I can't remember what the song was that I think he sent it in like 3 weeks in a row. Okay, this is an interesting style for Multifox. I do think that the bass line is not following the chords properly. At least before the bass came in, I had a certain idea of what the chord structure was. But then when the bass came in, the bass made me realize that I was wrong about the chords. It's like steel drums that have been majorly fucked with. It's, I mean, He's been his early works may have had a loose interpretation of the key of the song, but he's been doing well. I think that I think that the chords are fine. I think that the bass just is, and I think this might have been something he struggled with before, is that the bass is playing maybe the bottom note of the chord, but the way that the chord is voiced, the bottom note might not be the root note of the chord, if you know what I mean. There could be some inversion happening where the major third or the minor third or something is played an octave down, and maybe that seems like it should be the root of the chord, but it's not, because of the way that music works. So yeah, I think that the bass isn't following the chords quite properly. You can really hear it there. It's the last one. 1 and 2 are correct. That third one is incorrect. And I mean, there might be a third and a fourth, but they're kind of to me it sounds like 1, 2, 3. That seems like there's like 3 chords, right? And the third one just gets hold twice as long as the other 2. And the first and the second chord, the bass follows it correctly, but the third / fourth it's not playing the root note, at least my idea of what it should be playing. Okay, the drop is interesting. I like the sound design. I feel like the drums, that ride cymbal, I've said this before, I feel like a ride cymbal doesn't really have much of a place in this kind of energy, because a ride cymbal to me is smooth. You know, it's like jazzy. It's like, woo, we're grooving now. It smooths things out. I don't feel like you really want to smooth. Like, to me, that ride cymbal just kind of doesn't fit in this style of drop, because it's just kind of like imagine if listen to that ride cymbal and imagine a drummer playing. He would be like daintily touching the ride cymbal as like the rest of the track is trying to go as hard as it can, and the drummer is going ting, ting, ting on the ride cymbal. To me, sometimes you just got to visualize like the drummer and then ask yourself, does this fit what I'm trying to accomplish? If some screaming vocal woman shouts might appear in the drop. What? That sentence hurts me to read. Yeah, again, the chord structure. I'm struggling to figure out what the chords should be. I do think that there's like some reharmonization happening in an unintentional way, and it's a little confusing to me musically, and I'm not quite sure how to approach helping you fix it. Okay, so dun 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 dun. Okay, the drop sounds like it's in da, whatever da is. Give me something. Okay, the drop sounds like it's in C. Right? Okay, but then if we go back here. Dun, 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 dun. And then that sounds like it's in. Oh, fuck. It's also in. I need a synth that doesn't not make noise. Okay, let's try this. Which envelope is it? Okay. I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. Musically, there's something off. You are working with the notes. All the notes you're using sound like they're coming from the same key, but the way that you're using them kind of implies that we're in a different key. Make a bass track with a B as a root note. I don't know, dude. I'm trying to figure out how to help you navigate this one. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know exactly how. I don't know. 400 decibels louder. I think that I would actually die. See, what's interesting is the ride doesn't bother me as much in this section, but I think it's because it's happening at such a regular interval. It's almost just, it's not drawing as much attention to itself. It's almost just adding a layer of like almost white noise, like bright white noise to the track. Whereas before you were kind of playing it as a pattern or something. And that drew more attention. See, right there, it doesn't go back to da da. It plays a different chord, and I would expect it to play probably a C minor. Oh my god, my keyboard's working today. Ugh. Why do I keep picking the absolute worst? Here, Labs piano. Yes, that is the chord I would, after this drop, I would expect it to play a C minor. That's the chord progression I'm expecting. But your first chord starts at the G sharp instead of the C minor. I think that's the problem. I think we have identified the problem here. I think that your chord should start at the C minor. Your chord should start and follow the same thing that your bass is playing in the drop. I think that that's a good place to start. Otherwise, it just throws me off because it kind of sounds like we're starting on the last chord as opposed to the first chord. Because if we listen here, well, I guess it's not there, but it's implied. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, your chord structure should be C minor and just make them simple triads to start with, like just the root note, the major minor third, and then the the fifth, right? So just your chords in the non-drop section should be C minor, then D sharp major. Remember how to play a D sharp major. So C minor, D sharp major, G, A sharp major, and G sharp major. I fucked that up. I'm not really a musician anymore, but those are the chords. So make your chords those chords and then send it again. Try that at least. I think that's the problem. Okay. We will start from there. Sorry, my bad. There. That's my 7th chord for the day. 7th chord a day keeps the doctors away. Okay, let's listen to Max pitched. Oh, this is Moy's track Max, and he pitched it up. So I really like this I really like this, and I think it's better pitched up. I think Raham had a good point. A little reverse something in to suck you into the next chord would be good. Maybe some subtle rhythmic thing, something to kind of, I don't know. I don't mind these big, massive chords with like the tail, but I think even just like a very subtle, interesting layer that kind of keeps the pace a little bit might be cool. And there's an effect right off the top. It's like that kind of frequency range. It's out of key with the song. I'm wondering if when you pitched the track, you missed pitching one of the effects or something. If you listen. You hear it? There's something's droning in a not good frequency there. And the other thing is, why not have some, maybe not that sound. Where's my just like generic lead synth? I feel like it should have some melody. You can tell there's a lot of latency on my keyboard. Why? Oh, let's do that. Yeah, I think that there needs to be some, it needs to have some melody. I don't know. I'm sure, Fred, if you just noodle around, you can just, I'm sorry. I'm very rusty and I never was a good keyboard player. I'm sure if Fred noodles around, you can come up with something, but like you kind of have melodies baked into these chords. They're very melodic chords. They're almost enough to play them. They're almost melodic in themselves. So if you can just find the melody that is like actually in there, I feel like it's already in there. So if you just mess around, I'm sure you can come up with a melody that would complete this whole picture. Because I think if you maybe embellish this section here a little bit and added some sort of meaningful sounding melody, something that's emotional and lets the listener connect a little bit more, then it's just gonna be way better because the chords are already so good. Like the chords are great, the track sounds great, but it's just missing that melody to me. That's what I think. All right. It's like Nick typing on a keyboard like an 80-year-old. Yeah, I'm really well. I mean, also you got to think there's still a bunch of latency. It's not as bad as it was, but I'm not trying to make excuses for myself. I generally do suck, but usually I can figure out what's in my head and get it into the computer somehow. Okay, moving on. Let's check out Lewan Halsey. Are you actually surprised, Raham? Because that sounds like something I wouldn't do.
You could tear me apart like tissue. You could tear me apart like tissue. It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car. My body laid on a carpet. Before I knew who you are, my body made me feel bad. You're helping me come out of it. And I'm sorry I'm shy, just a really great guy. Please believe.
Okay, there's a few iffy notes in the vocal. Could a brother get his track up next? I'm in the last place. What are you like? Is it late there? There we go. Yeah, there's a couple weird notes.
I'm very happy 'cause you made me feel so comfortable with everything that you do. You could tear me apart like tissue.
Yeah, I think the vocal performance is. I like her voice. I like I like the performance, like vibe wise, but I think that you probably you could probably tighten it up a bit. There's a few timing issues. There's a few pitchy kind of issues. I don't think it's an acapella that's slapped on the track because
You could tear me.
one of the other notes I was going to say is that you can really tell when her vocal punches in and punches out because it's got kind of like, yeah, old-timey radio quality. Yeah, there's something about it. You can hear when the recording starts and when the recording stops. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like the vocal track is playing the whole time and she's just not singing. You can really hear when like the clip comes in, the clip goes out.
You could tear me apart like tissue.
There's like a noise floor that's there when she's singing, and then the noise floor goes away when she stops singing. You can't really notice it so much when it gets into the track, but you can notice it there.
It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car. My body laid on a carpet. Before I knew who you are, my body made me feel bad. You're helping me come out of it. And I'm sorry I'm shy.
Let's try it. Let's find out. Oh, that's not a high shelf.
It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car. My body laid on a carpet. Before I knew who you are, my body made me feel bad.
I would say good things happen when I add 5 decibels of high end. Yeah, I don't think it is very bright, bright-wise. I do like it. It's kind of got a bit of a Massive Attack vibe.
It's in the back of.
One thing I did notice is that the track comes in kind of in a bit of an awkward place along her, like, along the, not lyrically per se, but like structure-wise. It kind of sounds like the track comes in halfway through a line.
Tear me apart like tissue. It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car. My body laid on a carpet. Before
I will say that regardless of whether it comes in at a weird spot or not, I think that you should the doon ding diddle doon doon diddle the element that's in it from the start, I'd probably pull out at the start there, and I'd probably still first draft whip. Oh, okay, cool. So I would probably strip out a lot of these elements that come in. There's a lot of stuff that just happens all at once.
It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car, my body laid on a carpet. Before I knew who you are, my body made me feel bad, you're helping me come out of it. And I'm so
I would probably treat I'm having a hard time because I would maybe treat from here to here. I'd treat this section as like a build up to the rest of the track. There we go. As a build up to like the rest of the track or something. And to me, it doesn't quite sound like the start of the track. Like, I feel like this is almost like we're building up to this moment.
And I'm sorry, I'm shy, you're just a really great guy. Please believe me,
I don't love the word really great guy. That to me is maybe not the best. I know it rhymes, but out of all the words, I didn't have any issues until she said really great guy. And then to me, I don't know, that just, I don't really like those words for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm not a really great guy. I'm all right. But yeah, I don't know. Lyrically, I feel like that line could be better.
with everything that you do. You could
See, like, I think you could probably bring in a lot of those elements here.
You could tear me apart like tissue.
But right here, maybe just strip it out. Take out the booty diddle doo thing. Take out the shake.
It's in the back of my mind.
Maybe just have her singing over top of the bass line, the simple hip hop beat, and maybe some sort of atmospheric kind of soundscape or something. But I think that you've put too much on top of each other at this start. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, yeah, the arrangement could be way better. This part is so good, but almost 2 minutes into the track, are you kidding me? This is so good. Yeah, you got to figure out a way. You got to figure out the arrangement on this. How could we do this? What's the tempo? What's the tempo? What's the tempo? What's the tempo? Please tell me the tempo. It's a Fatboy Slim reference. Let's just go from here.
It's in the back of my mind. It's in the back of my mind.
Oh, wow. My guess was right. 113. Okay. So let's, let me just try to absolutely destroy your arrangement here. Okay, so this is, I mean, like, we need the vocals, obviously, right? So let's just pretend that the drum beat isn't here, or maybe it's fine.
It's in the back of my mind, it's in the back of a car, my body laid on a carpet. Before I knew who you are, my body made me feel bad, you're helping me come out of it.
I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get there yet.
And I'm sorry I'm shy, just a really quick guy. Please believe me, I don't lie. Very happy 'cause you made me feel so comfortable with everything that you do.
Just a gent Urca. Oh well, I tried. That's wrong.
To be found.
I feel like I don't want to listen to that entire song, and I don't know if it's maybe Lee Wan can. Did I open the wrong song? You said Urca. Oh, you said the wrong song. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, just by hearing 5 seconds of it, that's definitely a good reference. No matter what you do, you gotta treat this as like the chorus. That's the thing you're building up to. Now you're telling the story in the verse, or I guess you might call this a pre-chorus, if depending on how often you repeat it or whatever. But you got to get to that. I'm gonna try. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but let's just high pass this to see if I can like. Oh, different chord structure there. I don't think I can. I don't think I can do it with what I have here. But trust me, this if you rearrange. If you rearrange the arrangement on this so that the vocals tell the story, build us up, and then you hit us with this and you sprinkle the vocals throughout the drop somehow, maybe at the end of every 8 bars or something, some hook or something from the vocal comes in, it's going to be so much better. Vocals feel early, kind of like the whole thing shifted over. I don't really love that wind chime sound myself.
Before I knew who you were, body made me feel forced. You're helping me forget of it. The warmth and joy that I feel, I find it hard to conceal. My heart, you surely.
Yeah, I would listen to Rayham's reference, this Iris in the Dark, and try to. I think that that's a better direction for this. And then I would also strongly encourage you to.
Just a really quick eye. Please believe me, I don't lie.
That kind of whole passage lyrically is not that strong compared to the rest of the track.
And I'm sorry, I'm shy.
I feel like it's too literal and just plain language. I feel like you got to come up with a more creative way of getting that idea across. But I'm glad that you're using a real life vocalist. That's exciting, and I love that. There's a lot of really good stuff in here, but I just think that like everybody's reaction when that part happened was like, wow, this is the song. Why is this not the song? You know? So I think that that's a good indication that you're onto something really good with this, and you need to structure the song around that as if it is the main point of the song. Okay, moving on. Confused by Xyloid 2. Sorry, David. Raham is a dick. It's that there are no commands. You have to manually type that into your browser. It's pretty groovy. I like it. I live on the east coast of Canada in New Brunswick. I think that I would probably drop your kick drum in volume just a little bit, and then I would hit your master a lot harder because there's really no reason not to. See, when I bypass the limiter, all of a sudden the kick drum stays the same volume, but the whole track drops in volume. So that's a good indication that if you just drop your kick drum, everything can come up with very little side effect, and the kick drum's still going to be the same volume because it's going to be pretty much at its limit because of the limiter. I really like the arpeggio thing. It reminds me of like Royksop or something. I don't know, dude, it's pretty good. For the type of music it is, I think it's pretty bang on, but I do think if you drop your kick drum and you bring this down, or whatever limiter you're using, I just think you can get a lot more just overall volume and glue. Like the mix will be glued together better if you bring the kick drum down and then hit your master limiter harder. Nothing bad is going to happen from that, I don't think. The only other thing I would say is I really like this arpeggiator. I know you kind of teased it earlier in the song, but I probably like... Oh, maybe it's... No, maybe it's there enough. I don't know. I think really all this needs is a bit harder of a master, and lowering the kick drum would just make the mastering process easier. So I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's I don't even know what style of music it would be considered, but I don't really care either. It's good. Make it louder. The end. Okay, chord. Distant work. Wait, we haven't had a chord submission in a long time, have we? Wow. Dude, this is a good chord song. This is exactly what I would have expected, except I didn't expect those weird out of key notes. But now, I mean, now that I've heard the whole song, I don't even know if I dislike them anymore. It's so funny, like, you know, I love how so many of you have such a unique sound. And I never would have thought this would be a sound. Like it's like telephone house. Because all of Chord's stuff sounds like it has elements from one of those old like ring phones, you know, with the whatever the not the touch tone, the what's dial tone? I don't know. All of his music sounds like it was produced on one of those phones somehow. It's an analog device. I don't know how you would write music. Rotary phone. Thank you. His music sounds like it was created on a rotary phone. And I mean that in a good way. It's just so interesting that this is a style of music that I never would have heard of. Yeah, it's so weird, but like a good weird. I always enjoy and I'm always entertained when I listen to Chord stuff. In terms of feedback, maybe reduce the transients a little bit on your kick drums. Oh, maybe it's not even the kick drums. I think it's the kind of wood block finger snappy sounds, because you could just push the master a bit harder. Again, we're not trying to make the Skrillex loud, but like, why not? Rotary phone would be a good genre. And there would be exactly one artist that makes that style of music, and it would be Chord. Thank you, Chord. I don't really have any feedback. I think that it's very you, and I enjoyed it. Okay, Johnny Gamble, Whip. I don't know where I'm going with this. All right. I think that this pluck thing that comes in, the is too loud. Because I can kind of hear it like fighting the master a little bit. And I don't think it should be. I think you should just drop it a bit. The that whatever that The snare drum sounds like it's trying to tell you a secret. More like cyberpunk like 1877, because it's like Castlevania. So I think what you got to do now is do a breakdown and have a big, like a long build with lots of Castlevania vibes, and then hit us hard with a more chunky version of this like drop, because this drop was very smooth and cool and everything, but I'm kind of waiting for a da da dun 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 or something a little chunkier, right? And maybe that's just my personal preference, but I think the way to move forward with this is to build this breakdown and build it up, and then smack it again hard. Well, Grant McDonald is Canadian, so that would make a lot of sense. I like it. Besides that like diddly do thing being too loud, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I would keep moving and try to don't spend too much time on any one section until you get like the whole arrangement. 18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch. Ice Kayab Forbidden featuring Mr. G. I decided to give singing the chorus a go. Okay. Okay, so I think that you're doing a better job at the at the vocals than he did. Like, I think that you're you're going harder at it. I think that was a good move. It's just everything is so loud, dude. Like, I know that this style is supposed to be loud, but it's too it's loud in the wrong way. It's just it's too uncontrolled when it hits the master. I think you gotta turn off your master, and I think you gotta mix it without the master and bust things together. You know, put all the drums and stuff into a bus. Try to control them separately. You know, put your bass, if you got like a real bass or a synth bass and all these different layers, like group them together and try to control them every step along the way before they hit the master. Otherwise, you're getting loudness at the expense of clarity. Like there's not a lot of clarity in this mix when it hits the chorus, because there's just so much stuff hitting the master. Let's keep going. I think that you probably are capable of singing this chorus. I don't think that this performance is necessarily it. I think that it's a little too it kind of sounds like you're not quite sure what note to hit during certain moments or something. So I think that if you really if you really learned how to sing this and you practiced it and you hit it a bit more confidently, maybe, I think that your voice could probably work on this. But I just don't think that this performance is necessarily it. I also don't think that his performance is necessarily it. And I feel the same way. I think that he could sing these more gentle parts, but it's a bit pitchy. It's a bit unsure of itself. I think that it's just a matter of like doing more takes, practicing more, getting better at singing this specific song, knowing exactly how to hit each line, each note in each line. I think that that's going to go a long way. Yeah, that's a good point too. Do a bunch of takes and comp them together. Although at a certain point, if you do like 25 takes, you're not listening to all 25 of each line. You're just not going to. So you I find when I'm tracking vocals to kind of cut them as I go. Like, that was okay. I'm just going to delete it because I don't feel like sifting through that plus 25 other okay ones, you know? But comping is a good point. I think, like, honestly, the track musical wise is pretty good. I think that if this was like a real band playing this song, it would be a really good, I don't know what style this is. Screamo. I feel like I'm dating myself by saying that. I think it's still I think it still does pretty good, considering I think that most of it is just in the box stuff. Like, you know, like the drums definitely are. Yeah, like right here, the mix, I would hate to see what's happening in your master limiter. I feel like I just, it's just too hard. It's getting hit too hard. I think, again, controlling the dynamics of the stuff before it hits the master is a good move. Oopsies, I pushed a button. I tried. It all goes wrong, but I must. But it's very kind of like wall of white noise being occasionally interrupted by a kick drum that's sidechaining things, you know? Like it's so much clutter in the mix. And I think you gotta again turn off your master and try to mix it without the master. Give yourself some headroom. And then bring it up from there instead of letting your master try to bring it down from what you're giving it. Are these guitars all MIDI, or are any of them being played in real life? I think your strengths are the writing. I think that the writing on this is really good. Like the guitar, the drum patterns, the structure of it, even the vocal, a lot of the vocal is well written. I think that the writing is good, which is great, because that's the hardest thing to learn how to do. To write. You can learn how to EQ a guitar by watching enough tutorials, you know, or just fucking around endlessly until you find some patterns. But to learn how to write interesting and creative melodies and patterns on the guitar riffs and stuff like that, that shit's tough. So I definitely think that you're good at writing, but I think that your production, I think Raham probably nailed it when he said that you're mixing it kind of like EDM. And it's not to say that EDM and kind of like newer metal and stuff like this, it doesn't share a lot of mixing techniques. There's side chaining and sub bass separation and stuff like that. But I do really think that you got to take a step back and stop aiming for loud at all costs, and, you know, figure out, be a bit more strategic and scientific about the mixing process. Take a step-by-step write it, whatever. And, you know, sometimes you might write it and send it into an aggressive master just so that it's loud, so you can be inspired while you're writing or whatever. But if you take a step back, turn off your master bus and see what's happening, you know, because sometimes you turn off your master bus and you're like, oh my God, that tom drum was 45 times louder than everything else in the track. And I didn't know because the master was saving it. So turn off your master bus, kind of go back to, I wouldn't say square one, but the drawing board in terms of mix, and build it up from a mix as opposed to building it down from the master, if that makes sense. All right. Last one of the day, Horu featuring Devilish Trio. Oh yeah, no glory. I think you sent this one in last time. Okay, this is really cool. I would say that the vocal is very low in the mix, and I know that's probably intentional, but I think it might still be too low in the mix. It's a weird reference point as a listener when I'm listening to it and the vocal is that far in the mix. It kind of disorients me a little bit in terms of how loud everything else is, because I'm like, it's almost surprising when the kick drum hits, because I'm almost referencing myself to where the vocal is. So I would probably bring the vocal up and maybe chill out on the reverb just a little bit, because when you bring that vocal up, the reverb's also going to come up, and the reverb will probably cover up a lot of the beat in doing that. So bring the vocal up maybe 3 decibels and maybe bring the reverb down 3. Maybe the reverb could stay where it's at, but the vocal comes up above it just a little bit more. And then you can also push the master a lot harder. Well, I mean, at least 3 dB harder. Did I hear? Is that the start of a clip that you didn't fade in? Okay, so I think that the vocal here is probably a little low too, but a more interesting issue is that there's this frequency that's it's in your drums and in that vocal. It's very present in the vocal and in the drums, and it's adding up in a weird way. Or not a weird way, but like kind of like a harsh way. Yeah, there's like a ch, like that sound, and the vocal both have this very harsh kind of frequency range that I would pay attention to. I'm not saying you can't use that sound, and I'm not saying that that frequency needs to be killed out of everything, but when they're adding up together, it's just causing like that pain region a bit too often. Regarding what Rayhem said, I'm not going to speculate as to how much of this is original MIDI composition and how much of it is potentially loops. I know that this style of music is it's known for people assembling loops from sites. I will say that if this is primarily made, I'm not saying it is, but it is something to be aware of. It's very tempting to take an arpeggio loop that sounds sick from a loop pack, and to take a drum loop that sounds sick from a loop pack, and to take a vocal loop that sounds sick from a loop pack, and take an atmosphere loop that sounds sick from a loop pack, and all of a sudden you have a song made out of loops. And each of those elements in themselves may not have been a big crime against creativity, but when you add them all together, all of a sudden, again, not saying that's what this is. I'm just saying, in general, it's kind of like AI. I mean, like, it's a slippery slope. Using AI to rearrange, reword something, maybe not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're going to rearrange it after that happens. But then maybe you start asking AI to do more for you and to create more for you. And it's the same thing with samples and loops and stuff. It's like, it might be okay to use occasionally, but when it's doing most of the work, then you got to kind of ask yourself who is being creative here. Anyway, again, not saying that's what is happening here. The section before the ARP loop was just such a jump. It kind of gave it away. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Cool, yeah. And again, I was I know I've said this like 6 times, but I didn't assume you were assembling loops and samples. I just wanted to make a comment on that in general. Yeah, I mean, this is cool. I think that my only real 2 notes are the vocals are a bit buried, even for this style of music, I think. And there's that harsh frequency range that is present in both the vocal, in like the male vocal. I don't think I heard it really in the female vocal. The male vocal and like some of the like those drums. And when they add up together, they're a little hard on my ears. So I would probably go try to control that frequency range a little bit better, especially if you're going to end up turning the vocal up, because that's only going to masturbate. What is that word? Exacerbate the problem. All right, cool. That is it. I can't believe I went this whole time without peeing, and now I'm going to have the best pee of my life. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I love you all. I hope you have a good weekend. I got yogurt on my shirt. I think it's... You can kind of see it. Anyway. Okay. Goodbye. Talk to you later. Bye. Bye.